profession and MSc Health Psychology Gold Medalist from University of Hyderabad. And he is a consultant psychologist and a stress management trainer. So let's hear what he has to tell us behind the scientific way, what is behind Christmas. So everyone just spare a few minutes to him, and we have a lot of stuff that's coming to you after this. Okay, thank you.
Can you hear me in the back? Thank you so much. Most respected directors, esteemed faculty members, and young and energetic friends. Merry Christmas to one and all. I'm really indeed humbled and honored to be amongst you. And this has been a fascination as Christmas season starts. You know, celebration starts as our sir has quoted. It's so nice in this celebrative season to know the actual purpose of why Lord Jesus Christ has come into this world. Being students of science, as a student of medicine, many times I used to fascinate. What is this Christmas? And what does this have in relation to the meaning to intelligentsia? Christmas, the birth of Lord Jesus Christ, has fascinated the intelligentsia of the world during those times. The wise men, the then space scientists, fascinated by the news and found their Lord Jesus Christ. And this person, they found the person of Lord Jesus Christ, who went on to challenge different fields of science. In biology, he was born with divine intervention, without a normal conception. In chemistry, he turned water into wine. In physics, he defied the laws of gravity, and then he ascended into heaven and walked on water. In history, he rent the history to two before Christ, after death, Anno Domini. Not just that, even in medicine, being fascinated, he has, when we all hear about the theory of necrosis, once the brain death takes place, the body starts decomposing. This is part of law and this is part of nature. But it so happened, Jesus Christ has defied the laws of necrosis, the theory of necrosis, and he came back from death. And here is the difference. Since he has won over death, he is a supernatural God. He is a supernatural being. And now one question comes to me. Why should this God come to human beings? Why should he take the form of man? Why should he take the form of flesh and blood? If you just understand, being students of science, in the year 2010, it was reported in the journal Nature, I think it is the month of September. The study was done by space scientists of Yale University and Harvard University. They calculated the number of stars in the universe. And what they found out was, there are 300 sextillion stars. That means 3 followed by 23 zeros. Can you imagine? Universe is so magnanimous. And out of this such a magnanimous universe, why did Jesus come especially into this world, and that too in the form of a man? As a psychologist, I have always been fascinated. What does this mean to me? What is the purpose that a great person should be born? And this fascination has forced me to read one verse, which just now it was read by the student there. And she read the first verse. The first message of Christmas is this. The first message is, fear not. Just put a hand on your heart and then imagine how many kinds of fears we have. Suppose we say we don't have fears, but just imagine, as we wake up in the morning, we are afraid we may catch the bus on time or not. We sit in the bus, we are afraid we may reach the destiny safe or not. We are afraid of accidents. We are fearful of impending doom. We are fearful of impending danger. And even after coming to college, we are afraid of certain people. We are afraid of exams and fear of rejection between interpersonal communication, interpersonal relationships. The friend may reject me. The sense of friend may disown me. This sort of fear of rejection, fear of loneliness, it does not stop there. Fear of exams, fear of failure. See the number of several kinds of fear. After we go back home, we think that fear stops there. No, it doesn't stop there. Even in dreams, fear haunts us. This is the force or emotion that always haunts an individual. And sometimes, if this fear stops in dreams, it is very good. But there it doesn't stop. As we get up in the morning, again our thoughts of future, fear of future. Does it stop there? If it stops there, it will be well and good. But it does not stop there. ultimately surpassing all these fears is the fear of death. This is the dangerous fear every person has to undergo. One person told like this, I do not have fear at all. I'm such a brave person, I do not have fear at all. So what happened? Young energetic friends like us, all the ones sitting like this, they all wanted to go and ask him, sir, could you please tell us how to be fearless, how to be brave and confident? Then he said, oh, I'm so happy and privileged. You called me and asked me. Well, I'm going to tell you how to be fearless. Then the students asked, sir, can we come near you and will you teach us how to be fearless? Then they said, sure, come to me anytime, I'm always welcome. And then they asked, one of the students from the team asked, sir, could you please tell us when to come? Then he said, you can come to my house anytime, but be careful. Don't come when my wife is around. This is the fear. We may try to rub off saying that I do not have fear at all, but at one point or other, there is God-created vacuum in an individual which always haunts us, and we still fear some things, and above all, the fear of death. Most of the time, in this world of cutthroat competition, we sometimes forget the facts of eternity, the facts of spirit. But actually, I am reminded of one great person. Exactly before Jesus was born, 300 years before, there was a great emperor. The great emperor started on a voyage, and he was so determined that he wanted to win the entire world and wanted to become the emperor of the whole world. He started on his voyage, so successful, so determined, and his chivalry were following him as was he going. And ultimately, he even came to India. Once he wins victory over India, he is called as the emperor of the whole world. And unfortunately, that sad night, suddenly he was struck with a fever. All of a sudden, he started shivering, and he was struck with a fever called malaria. Immediately, he called his commanders-in-chief and said, I don't know whether I will survive or not. Let us cancel this, let us go back home. Then immediately, all his team members, all the army went back home, and ultimately, his fever severed so much that finally, he called up all his doctors, the famous doctors of that time. They came, they were doing the medication, but ultimately, it was in no use. Ultimately, he called up his commander-in-chief and said, I have lost 3 wishes. I know for sure I'm going to close my eyes. I'm going to leave my bed. But before I leave, I have lost 3 wishes. Could you please fulfill them? Tear-filled eyes, all his family members, all the commander-in-chief and the commanders assembled there and asked, Oh King Emperor, please tell us what are your last 3 wishes. We are sorry to hear this from your mouth. And he started saying, I have last 3 wishes. Wish number 1, when I die, put my coffin in such a way that my hands should be outside the coffin. This is wish number 1. Wish number 2, the doctors who treated me should carry my coffin in the final journey of mine. Wish number 3, what all property I earned, what all gold I earned, which are in my treasure house, let them be thrown on the roads in my final journey to the grave. All tear-filled eyes and suspicion in their hearts, one of the commander-in-chief, hesitant to ask this question, asked, Sir, what do you mean by this? What's wrong with you? Could you please tell us why you are asking all this to be done? Then he said, yes, I was in greed of competition. In the greed to win the world, I forgot the basic facts of life. I came alone in this world, and I'm going alone from this world. This is fact number 1. Let this proclamation be made. Number 2, I thought science would rescue me. I thought doctors would save me, but doctors could not save me. This is fact number 2. Let this be proclaimed to the entire universe. Fact number 3, in this wealth and greed for wealth, I forgot the basic facts of the spirituality and eternity, and ultimately, I'm going all alone without taking anything of mine. Just think for a while. In this cutthroat competitive world, sometimes we forget the basic facts of life. But this is the fact why Lord Jesus Christ has come into this world. He has come into this world saying, fear not. Why does this fear come? The basic fear, the emotion, according to our psychologists, the greatest fear that haunts an individual is fear of death, which we call it as necrophobia. Around 68% of the people reported that they have fear of death. And there are other people who do not report, but yet still they have. I work in a center, palliative center, where people come for their terminal illness. And during these last moments of their life, we should see the amount of trauma they undergo in their face. So much of emotional trauma, fear of death. What's the reason? The fear of death. First of all, as a psychologist, I want to understand it this way. How did fear come? Let us go back to the cause. Bible says the fear came because of sin. When God created human beings, the human beings were created holy. When there is holiness, there is no sin. But once they disobeyed, rebelled against God, that's when sin entered into this world. And because of this sin, suffering, sickness, and fear. And if you imagine, if you see the medications, most of the medications end with mycin, crocin, mycin, gentamicin, sopramycin, all are mycin. This is the reason. Sin is the reason for sickness. Sin is the reason for fear. Sin is the reason for suffering. But now, who should take over this sin? How can this sin be removed? This is the solution. Now the sin has to be removed. Without shedding of blood, there is no remission of sin. But whose blood has to be shed? Holy blood has to be shed. But in this world, none are holy. All have sinned. We have sinful nature from within us. How to take over this sinful nature? God thought of the human beings. Even though the universe is so magnanimous, He has sought this world, especially the human beings, and He loved every human being. That's why He sent His only Son Jesus into this world in the form of flesh and blood. Because without shedding of blood, there is no remission of sins. He lived for 33.5 years with a divine intervention. He was holy. His birth was holy. He did miracles, even raised the dead people from the grave. Finally, He said, I have not come to do all this. I have come to die, to shed my precious blood for the remission of mankind. He willingly accepted the cross. He said, I have got right to give my life. I have got right to take back my life. As a result, He went to the cross, shed His precious blood, died, buried, rose up again the third day. Now He says, this God who has won victory over death says, don't fear your death. Don't fear your death. He says, come unto me all you that labor and are heavy laden. I will give you rest. I will give you peace. I will make you fearless. And in order to drive out this fear of death, He has conquered the sin. He has conquered the death on the cross of Calvary and came back alive. And Jesus is saying, do not fear your death. Why fear comes? Fear comes because of uncertainty. When you know that your future is certain, when you know that once you die, you need not have a spiritual death. Your spirit is safe in heaven. If you have this conviction, you do not have fear of death. Now coming back to the main one, the second one. If you know your destiny, you are not afraid. I'll just quote one real incident that took place during the times of Albert Einstein. Albert Einstein was traveling in a train, and in the train he has purchased his ticket and then sat in the train. But the ticket collector came and then asked, sir, do you have ticket? Immediately he said, yes, I have, and he started searching and he could not find the ticket. So in this helter-skelter system, he has started rushing for his ticket, but he could not find the ticket. So worried, he was panicking. Then the ticket collector said, sir, I know you are a scientist, you are a man with integrity, don't worry, forget about it, I know you should have sure taken a ticket. So he went, finished his work, and then he's returning back. Still, Albert Einstein was searching for his ticket. He said, sir, I told you not to search for the ticket. Why are you wasting the time like this? Then he said, I know that I am a man with integrity. I know that you have left me. But I don't know where to get down. I don't know my destination. That is written in the ticket. So even so, once we know that our destination is what we are going to go, if we know our destination is heaven, if you want to go to heaven, only holy people can go to heaven. In order to do the atonement of sin, in order to remove this sin, Jesus Christ paid the penalty, and we need to do nothing. Just believe in Lord Jesus Christ. We shall be passed from death unto life. Now coming back to the second one, how can we face future? This is very important as students. Most of the time we have fear of future. We don't know what our future is at, and we are always afraid that danger is going to lurk at our corners. But in order to overcome the fear of future, this is a small solution. What psychologists say is, and what Bible say, according to Psalms 56, 4th verse, it says, if you have trust, there is no fear. Just remember these two words. You are afraid, that means you don't have trust. If there is trust, there is no fear. Simple solution, just look at a child, how the child sleeps on the mother's bosom, so happily, relaxed, because the child trusts mother. So also, the God who has won victory over death, the God who loves you so much, the God who has sacrificed His life for you, the God who says, I've got plans for you. According to Jeremiah, the 29th last verse, He says, I've got great plans for you, for your future, to give you an expected end. As students, you might be wondering how your future would be. But Jesus says, during this Christmas occasion, don't worry about your future. I'm going to give you a golden future. Don't worry about what future is at. God is going to give the best for you. And with this good news that Jesus Christ has come into this world to drive away the fears. Number 2, to give peace. Number 3, to drive away the fear of future. With this good news, I close with a small statement. What is Christmas? The immortal God became mortal man to make mortal men as immortals. This is Christmas. Happy Christmas and Happy New Year.